from a young age, I just always knew I wanted to be a business owner, bro.
Right.
Before I even knew what that meant, it just felt like, hey, I should be doing something independent. I should be creating something of my own, being my own boss, being in control.
Right.
Welcome back to the Black Millionaires Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Cliff Roach II. This is CEO James Hill. Today we have a special guest with us, coming from Detroit's West Side, Clement Brown Jr., also known as Fame, one of the hottest entrepreneurs in the Detroit area. He's been a recipient of the Spirit of Detroit Award, and he owns 313, one of my personal favorite clothing stores in the city, right here on Livernois, better known as the Avenue of Fashion. Welcome, man. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
I appreciate you coming on the show. I just wanted to get some background on you, and because everybody wants to start a clothing line, right? Everybody wants to have a store. Everybody wants to get merch and just put a stamp on it and think you should just pay top dollar for it. But you have a brand that is recognizable. Everybody come into the city, they got to stop here. So how did you get started with starting 313?
So 313 was birthed in 2009. 2009. Actually, it was 2008. 2009 is when we obtained a trademark for 313. And so in 2008, I was thinking of what could I do for a new brand, and I wanted to do something that that obviously represented Detroit. But at the time, there was a couple brands. I think there was Made in Detroit, which was Kid Rock's brand at the time. And I think that's it. I think it was just Made in Detroit. And I didn't feel it. I wasn't feeling it, you know what I'm saying? But I understood how he kind of was, the company was kind of marketing and selling the merchandise. So I was like, that's dope, and how they get it into the marketplace. But it's not really, to me, reflective of, Detroit.
Right.
The culture, right? And so I was thinking to myself, like, what could I come up with? What could I come up with? And 313 is just a way, as a kid, we all rap.
Right.
In the hood, we all rap just like we all hoop.
Right.
And so, growing up, when we would rap and stuff, you always trying to find a different way to say the same thing, because everybody talking about the same thing. So you're trying to find a different way to say it. So I would say 313 instead of 313.
Right.
Everybody else say 313 or 31 third or whatever, but I would say 313. That was my thing. And as a kid, fast forward to 2008, I'm taking a shower, and I'm just thinking, in the bathroom is where you get your meditation on.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, because you got your alone time. And so I'm kind of to myself, and I'm thinking to myself, what could I come up with? What can I do Detroit? What can I come up with? What would be dope? And then, and I kind of was talking to myself, hey, what can I do? To describe it, and then I told myself, 330, oh man, you should have, because I always would say that.
Right.
You should have been knew that. You should have been came up with that. Because I had been thinking for some time, what name could I use as a brand name? So when it hit me, so that's what it is. I went out and got the trademark immediately. Yeah, I didn't even sit on it for a couple days before I was on the phone with my intellectual property attorney, getting the trademark for that thing. Yeah.
That's what's up. So before the business, right? Before the vision came to life, what were you into before? Were you corporate America? Were you 9-to-5 guy? Were you just hustling on the side? Like what was the go-getter for you before?
I've been making and selling t-shirts since I was a kid.
Okay.
So since I was 12, I've been making and selling t-shirts. So by that time, I was in my mid-20s, late 20s. I already had success for brands. I had success with several brands up until that point. So it wasn't my first rodeo.
Right.
I kind of knew exactly what I wanted to do with it from experience.
And that's very important. And one thing I don't want to gloss over is you started this in 2008 and 2009. And what most people remember is the recession. Everybody was losing their jobs, businesses was going down, especially the city of Detroit got hit really hard because of, the big three, Ford, GM, and Chrysler. A lot of things went down. What motivated you to start when the entire economy is going down to start a business? Because right now we're in the middle of a pandemic and people always ask me, when should I start a business? I'm like, this is the perfect time to start a business, because once the economy gets back rolling, then your business can take off.
Right. Well, I've never, and I appreciate you for noticing that. It was 2008. It was the mortgage crisis.
Yes.
And it was rough. I was married at the time. My ex-wife had the property that we were living in before we got married, and it was a predatory loan.
Okay.
So it was adjustable mortgage, or adjustable rate on the mortgage. It was horrible, and I guess I kind of put that to the back of my mind since then, because I forgot all about that, and it was a tough time. And I think, being black in America, being a young black man in America, I was always taught that I have to work harder than everybody else in order to just break even.
Right.
Like, not just work harder than everybody else to win, but just to make it to tie.
Right.
So, for me, when the pressure gets to cooking, it's like, it's a fight or flight type of thing. So I think I went into, you do what you know, right? You do what you know how to do. So I think around that time when it got super tight for me and my family during that mortgage crisis, I was thinking of what can I do to kind of, to relieve some of this pressure financially. And that's probably one of the reasons why I was, mulling over what brand could I start or what could I do different or new. That probably was one of the reasons, but it's all I know. That's why I started. I wasn't thinking it's a recession or it's a mortgage crisis, start a business. That's not how I was wired. I was just like, this is what I know how to do. This is who I am. This is what I've been doing since a kid. It's time to do more of it. So.
Cool. Obviously, like we said, you starting in the middle of, it's either make something out of nothing or get lost, right? It's the only option. But along the way, getting to this point, right, fast forward 12 years later, what have been some of those hurdles that came along the way that you had to either readjust or just get over? Like what hiccups stepped in front of you on the journey this far, right?
Right. I mean, I could name thousands, right? I could name, if I was really want to sit down and jot, I could name thousands. I don't really focus on so much the challenge or look at the hurdle as something that I have to necessarily jump or, I don't look at it as a problem. I look at problems as opportunities for solutions.
Okay.
So, but to your point, we were broken in downtown. That was like a huge issue for us. Mm-hmm. We weren't just broken in the store. They used the vehicle to kind of crash into the storefront,
Right.
and use like as a battering ram to break into the store. So it destroyed the entire storefront. That shut us down for a couple months before they could fix everything. And it only didn't just shut us down. I had to move everything out of the store. Right? So because it was breached, it was like literally it was open. So I had to move all the merchandise out of the store into like a storage facility. I didn't have immediate or readily access to it. It wasn't like organized in the storage facility. You just had to kind of get it in there. So I wasn't able to make online sales during that time we were down. It was tough, and it was during the busiest time of a year for this business, tax season.
Right.
So it was tough. We were shut down during the time we were supposed to do our best.
Right.
And readjusting and kind of getting that momentum. And we had a lot of momentum when they pulled the plug on us. So kind of trying to get that momentum back, it took an extreme amount of effort.
Yeah. Now, you said you've been doing T-shirts since you were 12, and fast forward 10 years later, you're in your mid-20s or early 20s, and you start a clothing line. I think a lot of people gloss over the fact that you've been doing this for 10 years, and you probably made so many mistakes, learned so much. So you have the equivalent of a PhD in clothing and just merchandise. And then you start this company, and people see this success that you're doing right now, this flagship store, and they don't really understand that you didn't just start this last year. You started this at 12 years old, and
and I'm 41 now.
It became this flagship store.
Right, exactly. And it's so cliche when they say it's not the destination, it's the journey, or they say it's the process. It sounds so cliche, especially when you getting your ass bust. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't want to hear that, but it's really the honest truth. It's really the honest truth. When you embrace the the journey, when you embrace the fact that I know that I'm going to a place, and when I get there, it's going to be great, but this is the part that's special, getting there. When you really embrace that, is when you can get the most out of your now. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, you know, you can win a fight on your back sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, you know, you can samurai a fight with one arm, right? So a lot of times when you think you might be at a disadvantage, you're more apt to win.
Right.
So it's been a long journey, man. You know, I started this thing, I was 12, my brother, a good friend of mine, we call each other brothers, he airbrushed. He started airbrushing, painting pictures on t-shirts.
Oh, yeah, that was big, especially back in the day.
Yeah, man, it was huge. And I would take those shirts to school and sell them. And that was a way to stay out of trouble, you know, for both of us. You know, my guy, he can sell things, but he's more gifted in his artistry. And so we kind of worked together, we complimented each other growing up. You know, it's been rough, man. You know, to say, and even now, even in this moment, it's still tough. You know, it's never an easy button to push. You know, like the State Farm commercial, you stay safe, and then it's safe, or like the Staples commercial with a button, an easy button. It's, you know, that's why they can market that like that, and it's entertaining because it's not like, you know, it's so far from reality, right? But it becomes easier when you embrace the fact that you know it's not. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you know whatever you're doing is going to require a certain amount of effort, when you find yourself having to exert that effort, you should rejoice because you know you're doing it versus, oh, it's hurt, it's tight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Complaining. So it's a mindset, man. Entrepreneurship to me is more of a mindset than it is a great idea, business process, product to sell, logo.
Now, when did you get the store? So you go from, I've been selling t-shirts since I was 12 throughout high school. Now you're in your mid-20s. When did you actually say, I'm going to get a store? Did you get a store to start out? Or did you start selling out the trunk of your car, made some money, get an investor or whatever, then get a store? How did that transition?
So we were kids, and one thing I was fortunate is, you know, my guy, Pete Rock, shout out to Pete Rock, he was super dope. You know what I'm saying? And even to this day, and what he did was unique to himself, right? Because he's an artist. And so I had an item that was exclusive, right? I had like an exclusive item or access to, you know, this artist that could produce these exclusive items. And so we started out the basement, you know, out his mom's basement. He would make the shirts and stuff. By the time I graduated high school, we had our first shop on 7 Mile in Ferguson in Detroit. It was a space that we rented. There's a funny story about that space. One of these growing pains, right, or a learning experience. It's a funny story about that space. I had an 88 Cadillac, I believe it was. It's like a Eldorado. It was nice. It was on rims. For me to be that young, the car was kind of dope. You know, so I spent a few grand for it or whatever. Bought it from the lot. It was a real thing. And I have just lost a friend, a very close friend of mine had passed. You know, rest in peace, Kenny T. Rest in peace, Kenny. And we were like brothers, for real. We were cool since, you know, elementary school. And so I was in this space where I was working 2 jobs. I was working at the post office, and I was working at the job I grew up working at, the candy store in my neighborhood, Ladies Wholesale. And so I was in this space where I kind of felt, you know, I was grieving, right? It even hurt thinking of it now. And so I'm thinking, like, what can I, you know, I'm working these jobs. I'm working 2 jobs, you know, at 18. I'm not really that happy. You know, I'm making money, but I'm not really that happy. I sell my brother's art on a kind of like on the side type of deal at this point. But he was working out of a small space. like subleasing the space from somebody who was leasing the space.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really that idea for what he wanted to do. He wanted the space, and I wanted something new. And so I started thinking that. I started thinking those thoughts, looking for properties, looking for buildings that we can rent or lease, attracting that energy. And I put a for sale sign in my Cadillac. I'm like, I'm gonna sell the car. I'm gonna take the money, go get space for us so we can run this business. And that while I was at my first job, one of the customers noticed that I was selling the car. Like, why are you selling the car? I'm like, I'm selling the car so I can go get a building so we can do our thing. I'm 18. He's an older, seasoned, man, businessman as well. He's probably 30. He's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. He's like, man, I got a space for you. I'm like, straight up? He's like, yeah. I got a space on 7 Mile for you right now. I'm like, on 7 Mile? Because 7 Mile was like the strip.
Yeah.
When we were kids. 7 Mile was the strip. I'm like, straight up? He's like, yeah, man. Let's see it, So he took me to the space. Took me and my brother. We looked at the space. We wanted it before we even got there, right?
You already sold.
Yeah, we were in our minds. It was a wrap, right? So we get there, I think I wanted. Forget how much I wanted for the car. I think it was $1,800 or something. It's been a long time, or something like that. Not 1,800 or 2,700. I remember the rent was $900. And so, long story short, I negotiated the car for the first month, last month, the security, whatever, for this space.
Right.
And so now me and bro, we in there. We get, we in there. We got the lease signed. We in there. We fixing it up. We doing our thing. We getting ready to go into business. And about maybe 2 weeks after, week or two after we in there, a guy come to the door. He like, what y'all doing here? Like, we fixing it up. We about to do our business, X, Y, Z. Like, how y'all fixing up my building without me even knowing? Who are y'all? Like, what do you mean? Who are you? We got a lease. We come to find out the dude that leased us the space was getting evicted out of the space.
Oh.
It was never his building.
Right.
And in the first place. And he just kind of ran game, on some kids, you know what I'm saying? Pretty much, in essence. And so that's a funny story about that space. Long story short, we ended up renegotiating with the rightful owner and having our first shop together at 7 Mile Ferguson. So I was 18 years old when we had our first official commercial storefront with our own sign on.
Yeah, that's all I can think about when you say that is the definition of turning a liability into an asset.
Yeah.
You sold an older used car,
Yeah.
turned it into a business,
Yeah.
and scaled outward. Like,
Yeah.
I joke about this all the time. People dropping a PS5 and a 500 on that. It's like, what you could have did with 500 and like created something out of it.
Yeah.
So that's just really special that you say that. But I want to hop back real quick to something you mentioned. You mentioned 2 individuals who were really pivotal in your life coming up in business. Talk about collaboration and how important it is to just not think you can wing everything on your own, to leverage people who are sharper at certain skill sets than you are.
Right.
I want you to just hit on that for a moment. Talk about how key working with your close partners is.
Right. Well, no one man is an island, right? And there's power in numbers. And so, to be quite honest, I had a couple people in my circle, not a lot of people, and that's kind of all the time. Sometimes all you need is 1 or 2 people, but it's always necessary in life in general, not just in business but in life, to have a mindset to where you want to be an asset to someone else, right? Especially someone that you admire and respect, because at that point when you create value for someone else, it in turn make you more valuable.
Right.
And so I would say, in terms of collaborations, always consider how you can be a blessing to someone else. And sow your seeds into fertile ground, meaning bless someone who can acknowledge and understand what that value that you add is. Because everybody, you can do something for someone. You can sow your seed into plant a seed into a shallow ground or rocky ground, and nothing come from it.
Right.
And it's a good seed. You know what I'm saying? But it's not in the
Not in the right place.
right. So find somebody that you admire and respect for whatever reason that may be, because their brand is dope, or because whatever it is, you know what I'm saying, and see how you can add value to them, and then do it, because you can do that freely. You don't have to ask their permission, and everybody wants to be increased. So if you add value to someone that you admire and respect, they're going to recognize it as such, and then they're going to want to add value to you. They want to keep you around.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's a big mind hack that can set your mind in the space to where you're always, adding value and receiving the value in that cipher. That's why I do what I do. I don't necessarily, when I think of collaboration, I don't necessarily think of, okay, who I'm going to collaborate next in a sense, or I think, how can I help someone? How can I help someone? Because I know in doing that I'm helping myself every time. You know what I'm saying? Whether they do something for me or not. Because, one thing that no one can take away from you is your experience. So if you live it and do it, you can own that. No one can take that. And at that point, you can leverage that. So it's like, I did this X, Y, and Z for this person or this corporation. They didn't acknowledge it. They didn't do nothing. I thought they would. I admire and respect them but they didn't. But you still have got that. You still got that experience, and you can leverage that. Yo, when I did this for them, I added this much value, because before they were just doing it like this. I met them, now they doing it like this, and look at it. It's increased their business, and that's I stay claiming that. No different than what you guys do. You can't pop up here tomorrow and like, yo, I got this. I want to do this every week for 313. I was thinking 313 should have a podcast, and I'm here to, feel me. So that's really is a mindset more so than a business opportunity, or it's more like a mind. You want to have that mindset all the time. How can I be a blessing to someone that I admire and respect?
Yeah, I think that's really important, man, because I struggled, just starting my business, trying to do everything on my own, not really understanding that there are certain areas in the business that you need to have someone else assist you with to help grow, and what's going to get you here is not going to get you here. So my grit and determination got me so far. Once I started partnering with other people, then I got here. But I really didn't understand, like you said, that me adding value to someone else, not necessarily expecting compensation or whatever, actually helped me. Because for what a lot of people don't know, yes, I have we have a large following on social media, but we started the page promoting other people's success. It had nothing to do with what we're doing.
Right.
And just like you said, 313, we're here promoting your brand, showcasing your work,
Sure.
showcasing your brand, because what we want to do is promote entrepreneurship in our community and make sure that people that look like us can look up to fame and say, you know what, I've been selling t-shirts since I was 13 too.
Sure.
Maybe I should start my own company. Maybe I should start something online. Maybe I should start, start my own store, even if they're not from Detroit.
Maybe I can go work with Fame.
Exactly.
And help him grow it to, he got one store, maybe if I go work with him, he can have 10 stores.
Exactly.
And I can have a claim in that, or a stake in that, or equity share in that. And that's a lot of times we miss that. We overlook that. And I attribute that to not understanding definite a purpose, right? Some people were built, some things were just designed to be exactly what it is. And that don't make it more or less valuable than the next thing. So for instance, a fish can breathe underwater, right? All day long, no problem. A bird can't, right? All birds can, right? That don't make a fish better than a bird.
Right.
Fish don't fly, right? Not all, right? It's exceptions to the rule. But you get my drift. Monkeys can climb like great. Fish can't. But that don't make, one better than the other. So for me, I always try to identify. I love dealing with and recognizing people are operating in their definite purpose. Like, that person they were born to be there. Like, that's who they are, right? And when you come across these type of people, when I come across these type of people, I am more apt to want to build with them, because I know our roles. I know that I'm not a fish. I'm a monkey. You know, I'm not a bird, I'm a bear,
Right.
or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? And we're not going to have to bump rams. You know, like 2 rams you see or 2. We're not gonna never have to do that, never, because they're operating in their purpose. I'm operating in my purpose, and together, it's this. We create this ecosystem. You know what I'm saying? Together, we make things more balanced. So for me, you know, to inspire someone to want to do something similar to what I'm doing, that's cool. I'm with that. Like, inspiration is one of the highest levels of success, really. You know, when you can inspire someone to any level. You know, so I'm totally with that. Throughout my career, I've inspired people to want to do similar things as me, even to the extent of trying to do a version of what I'm doing, right? And what I would employ those people to do, because it's kind of just, to me, it's misdirected energy. It's not like it's bad, it's just not focused where it should be. I would employ those people to reach out to me. Yo, I've been watching what you're doing. I think it's dope. I got some ideas, you know, I got some history, and I'm sure that I could be an asset to what you got going. You know, here go my resume. This is my ask. This is what I want. This is what I think I can do. I think if you give me 3 months doing X, Y, and Z, I can increase your bottom line X, Y, and Z. And out of that, I want this. I may consider that. That's how I got here. You know what I'm saying? I got here doing this very exact same thing. You know, helping people increase. And that's what this store is a reflection of. It's a lot of local brands that we use our store as a platform to help them increase. You know, whether it's profitability. You know, ultimately, that's what it is. Profitability. It may be through their exposure, it may be through their production, it may be through, you know, how they market their brand, it may be through how it's being distributed. Because I have relationships with, you know, store owners all over the country. And so it's really about aligning yourself with people you might respect, and if that people or person that you might respect was created to is like a swimmer, like Michael Phelps. You know, it's cool to be inspired to want to swim, but it might be a little bit more advantageous if you're looking to grow a business to like help him do it better, because he was created for that. You know what I'm saying? You might not have been. You might be created to help him do it better. Like, you know, when you think about the superstars on earth or the best businessmen on earth, it's always that guy. You know, like think about Ford. Ford don't make tires, Firestone. And that was his guy. They got families, you know, same thing like the Buell family and the Ford family. They make motors, like they make racing motors, like, you know, Ford didn't like jump in that lane. It's like, yo, they made friends with them guys.
Right.
And then they push each other. You feel me? So that's what it's kind of like. Though, you know, you might have more of an opportunity growing your business if you're a t-shirt guy, helping me versus trying to compete, especially in the space that I'm in now.
Yeah.
Because my whole business model is to help other businesses. So if you're trying to do something similar to what I'm doing, then you are really competing.
Right.
Because you could have just came here.
Yeah.
That's what the whole model is set up for.
The point is.
Yes. So it's easy for me to see, like, okay, they want to do it. And I'm a leader. So when you're a leader, you can't necessarily, you know, you only focus what's in front of you when you lead. You know, when you look back, you know, it's typically to see how far you came, or to make sure your followers are keeping up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, man, you know, it's business, man. It's and branding, and it's organic. It's natural. It's not this big strategic, smart, you know, complex.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, man, you know, if that ground, that the concrete could be heated, we wouldn't have to shovel the snow. Ding! How can we heat the concrete? And then that guy who get to it first, and then his buddies and everything, they make, you know, they can generate some pros. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not like this big mystery.
I like the point you just made that inspiration, right, is a form of success. Give us one person, whether they're famous or somebody in your personal life, that inspires you.
My mother inspires me. right? My mother inspires me. My father inspires me. Rest in peace, Arthur Naw, James Arthur Naw, affectionately known as Letty, my godfather. He owned the candy store that I grew up in working. Over 50 years of business. He inspired me. Rest in peace, Fox. Fox owned Peaches and Cream, the bar on Grand River in Metatol. And he allowed me to shoot pictures when I was 15 at his bar. You know what I'm saying? He inspired me. And I can go on and on, man, but most of the people that inspire me are right here in Detroit.
Yeah, it sounds like you got, like, when you talk about the people who inspired you, they also were entrepreneurs. So when you were growing up, did you ever think that you were going to start a business?
I didn't have any other choice. I was born to be what I'm operating in my definite purpose right now. And so I've always known that I would own a business. You know, that's how I was raised. That's how my father raised me. That's how my godfather raised me. That's how my mother raised me. That's how, that's just what it's been for me. My life.
Talk about you talked about you sold your nice old school to start the business, and we're here now. And now, a lot of people in the background, we see some nice old schools.
Yeah.
So talk about, just how old schools and how you intertwine that into your business and how it impacts your life, because it seems like it's really important to you.
Yeah, well, cars and clothes go together.
Yeah.
Especially in Detroit, right? I'm not from Detroit. I was born in New York, Buffalo, New York. I moved to Detroit when I was 7. And growing up here, cars is a big thing. And it was super impressionable to me. Like, guys in neighborhoods got nice cars, and it was just a big deal. Growing up in Detroit, cars is just a big deal. And so, I had my first car at 15 years old. I paid to get my permit. I had to go to driving school. It cost $160. I paid for it out of my own pocket. I love cars, and that's part of what Detroit is, right? The Motor City. So for me, we Detroit's brand name for a reason, and one of the reasons is we're connected to what the culture is in the city, and cars is a part of that. And so to me, it's a natural connection. It's not like this off the wall or out the box thinking or so creative. To me, it's just like, of course, they go together. You think about it from a visual standpoint. Designers do collaborations with automakers. So you see interiors by Eddie Bauer when I was growing up. Nautica.
Ferrari, even, they're starting to sell merch now. The car Ferrari,
they sell, and that's like from the other end perspective. The car companies sell fashion. Clothes and cars go together. Especially interiors. To go back to where I was saying, we got Eddie Bauer, Nautica, Coach, work with Lexus. I could go on and on. Gucci, work with that Fiat. And I go on and on. So, I want to do that. I'm a designer.
Yeah.
You feel me? I want a 313 interior
Right.
for F-150 or whatever it may be. You feel me? And so, it's a natural progression as a designer, especially from a designer from Detroit. And that's why you see the cars, man. That's why you see the cars. And on that note, we giving one away. We have like a raffle type of situation where you can, you buy a keychain, it's $100, get a number associated with that keychain, whatever number you choose. And when we sell all the keychains, we're gonna choose a number, and if that's your number, you get the car, right?
That's dope.
You feel me? That's some Detroit stuff, right?
Yeah,
That's that. And for me, I'm fortunate. I'm super blessed, man, and fortunate to be able to do that. To be able to create that culture, to be able to be a part of that. That means something.
It does. It's super authentic. Like, you can't get more of the epitome of Detroit than, right? Clothes,
Come
cars,
on, man.
and music.
Come on,
As
man.
good as it
You know what I'm
gets,
saying? Come
right?
on, man. That's killing them, right?
Yeah.
They should have been did that. That's how I know I'm supposed
Meant
to do it.
this. Absolutely.
Because somebody should have been did that, right? Right.
Talk real quick about branding itself, right? So obviously you got to mix the cars in with the clothes. Every
Right.
time I'm in the store, the music playing.
Yeah.
Talk about just fashion in itself and clothing brands. How do you establish brand equity, become recognizable, what are the do's and don'ts?
Man, you know what? I don't have the secret sauce in a sense. What I can tell you is that I love words. I love words. When you think about branding, a brand or branding, you know, I think about an animal being branded. You know, that hot iron, you know, hitting that flesh. It got to stay there. You got to stay there for a minute. You can't just do it and take it off, and the mark be left as an impression. So to leave an impression on people, you have to like have that heat, and that shit got to be consistent over a period of time, to where if you get off, it left a mark on them. They can't even, you know what I'm saying? And so that's how I look at branding. I look at branding as constant pressure, you know, until, you know, it's permanent. And it's never permanent, right? Because that skin gonna flake up, get old, this, that, the third, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like you gotta keep doing it, man. You gotta keep doing it. It's like a tattoo. Like you gotta get it freshened up after so long, right? So for me, it's never enough. It's never enough letting people know what we got going on. Doing what I'm doing now. This was important to me. I want y'all to know that, man. I didn't, you know, earlier today we kind of missed each other, but that wasn't because it's not important to me. This is important to me. This is part of, you know, telling my story. It's how people know what we got going on.
Right.
So, you know, whether it's a big publication in here with the huge cameras and the red cameras and all the people walking around, or, you know, smaller guys, it don't matter. To me, it's me operating in my purpose. So I appreciate y'all again, man, for, you know, taking the time to even want to kick it with me.
Yeah, man, it's inspirational to me just to see, you know, something that represents like Detroit. I live in Atlanta now, so when I go to different places, I travel a lot. I love when I introduce myself. I always say I'm from Detroit, right? I always say that,
right? And
now I got a place where I can buy some merch and always represent, and I don't even have to say it. I can show people like, oh, this guy, he's from Detroit.
Man, and that's dope, right? I can remember growing up and you didn't want to claim Detroit. Right. Detroit wasn't a brand that you wanted to claim. You feel me? Even the people in Detroit, up until a few years ago, the number one selling baseball cap was a New York Yankees hat. Now it's a Detroit hat. Oh, English D. You know what I'm saying? And that's why. You know, it's taken years and years and years since, you know, even before Made in Detroit. I would say I would start there because that was kind of commercialized in a sense to where people could see it in several places at the same time. But it's taken years of bolstering and boosting and talking about Detroit for it to finally leave that permanent impression. You know, where people like, oh, I rep the D everywhere I go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? And I love hearing that because I can remember, you know, people not wanting to, you know, say they was from Detroit. They would say they was from Bloomfield. Seriously, like, you know, yeah, you know, it's close to the city, but I don't even mess around. Like, what? You know, now you got those people wanting to move to Detroit and claim it. Everybody, you know, want to claim Detroit. So
I got one last question before we wrap up. And again, I appreciate you. Like we're in the middle of the pandemic, so a lot of, especially in the middle of the shutdown earlier in the year, when they said retail stores, everything had to close. A lot of people had to go online. So your store is like a flagship store. You want people to come here because once you come here, you can't forget it. So how do you keep that same energy online with branding and, you know, serving your customers online? Because getting someone in here and making a sale is it's just easy. It looks good. You feel good. You walk in, the music, the cars, it got the Detroit energy. But how do you transfer that online? Because I think a lot of brands are struggling with that, and not just smaller brands, bigger brands, right? Neiman Marcus. A lot of these companies are going out of business because when you go in the mall and you spend the money, it's easy to, you know, that brand equity is there, but it's not there online.
Well, you know, to your point, brick and mortar and online business, two totally separate businesses. It's two totally separate business processes and models. And you have to approach them differently when it comes to how you market and sell. You know, it's just totally different. To be quite honest, our online sales were very, very, very lackluster up until we had to shut the store down. Once I was forced to shut the brick and mortar down, I had to give all of my attention online. And part of the reason why our online business sucked, in other words, for lack of words, before the start of early March, early pandemic, is because I wasn't devoting the time and the necessary energy to build it. It's not the same business as a brick and mortar, so it's not like you can, they don't, although they complement each other, they're different. And so I didn't invest the time. I grew, like I told you, I grew up working at the candy store. I've been behind the counter since I was a kid. I know brick and mortar. It's just part of me. And so it's easier for me to operate in the store because it's just something I have more experience in. And so the learning curve was steep, and it still is, to be quite honest. Our website right now sucks. I'm embarrassed. And that's just me being honest. It's not an accurate reflection of what we have in the store. It's not updated nearly enough. And we don't get our items out fast enough. We don't ship same day, next day, which is almost standard now for online shopping. And so we have a lot of room for growth online. I'm fortunate, 313, we're fortunate that when we had to take everything online, our core customer was waiting to go online with us.
Right.
If we didn't have that, then it would have been more difficult. But to your point, to your question, how do you kind of give the same vibe online? I'm learning how you do that. One of the things that I did that was very effective is I had 24-hour round-the-clock sales. Early in the pandemic, I couldn't really sleep. Couldn't sleep. It was tough.
Because you're so used to being in the store. And
It's just anxiety, man. It was hard. It's, store closed, and not knowing what this thing is. I live in a sky rise that's dense, a lot of people. Is this how this thing going? I have friends and customers that lost their life, and COVID was like part of the complications. And so, I was reluctant to even come out the house. It was tough. I wasn't sleeping. And so when I finally kind of came around, like, yo, you got to get back in the swing of this thing. You got to start swinging. I started having sales online, and I would have like loss leaders. I would put an item, sell it, below cost to drive some energy and traffic. Get people. Only one. Like we only got one. The skull cap is $30. Right now you get it for $10, $3.13 first person, and then that would get people expecting sales. Our core customer looking at, and I'm fortunate to have a personal following on my personal social media. That's kind of I leverage that. My friends and family, because they couldn't shop. Everybody's at home.
Right.
And so I was fortunate. We had our best online months during those months, and some of those months were our best months ever. And so now, I am really putting in processes, and really it's people. I'm hiring 2 people so that we can, manage the online business, because it's a lot of profitability that's just being left on the floor.
And it's definitely a part of the transition in business now. If you don't exist online, you don't exist. Right? In 2020, that's how I feel when it comes to business.
Yeah, we get a lot of slack, man. Our customers, if I post an item that we have in the store and it's not available online, as soon as I post it, I hear about it. They complain. And it's challenging. It's challenging. You gotta have people in place, man.
You're for sure an inspiration. We appreciate you being available and being a role model in the city. And I really want to end on this, right? We can't gloss over the fact that you had former vice president, right? Recent president-elect Joe Biden pay a visit.
Yeah, man.
Was that premeditated? Was it spur of the moment? Talk about that.
Well, with all the juice that I got, I can't call, Joe Biden to pull up. So I was unaware of it totally.
Yeah.
I was at Micro Center when I got the call, and the call was like, "Yo, Joe Biden want to visit your store." Like, great. You know, I was shopping at Microsoft, and he's like, "Okay, well, are you there?" Like, no, I'm not. You know, I'm not there today. And I hadn't planned on coming to the store because I was doing other things, and then I'm like, "I'm not there today." But you know, we open. He can go.
Right.
And there, the other end is like, okay, well, can I see if your dad is here? My dad kind of hangs out, so he was around hanging out, and but he don't operate this business. I didn't learn this business from him. He don't know retail. He don't sell nothing.
Right.
It's not his thing at all. And so he just, when he's here, he's just kind of hanging out. You can't ask him about a price or nothing, right? So he's like, well, I see your dad's here. Can he show Joe around? And so I'm like, no, not much. You got to have an employee do it, And I guess that didn't sit well with him. Because he hung up. He's like, okay. He hung up, and then he called back in the fight. He was like, yo, can you please get here? He want to meet you. Is there any way you can get here? We kind of hold him off a little bit to get here. It's important to us. And I'm like, all right, I'm do my best, And it was rush hour traffic, but I was fortunate enough to make it here before he left. And police had 3-4 blocks blocked off. I had to park my car all the way, a mile away, walk to the store. Secret Service wouldn't let me in my store without questioning me, searching me. It was a big deal, man. It was a big deal. But what was most important about that to me is that it shows that we are connected to community. That's the only reason why anyone on Joe Biden's status or stature will want to come here, because they understand that by coming here, they showing their connection to community, and that's what meant the most to me. I'm not heavy into politics. I don't know Joe Biden personally. Being black in America, especially being a black man in America, I never subscribed to what politics really, what the essence of that is. It don't. It's like they ain't on my side in a sense. Yeah. I know this, so I kind of But at the same time, we have to respect what it is. Yeah. Right. So I make this place an open platform. I mean, it's a platform for that. Right. We're gonna engage community, and it's bigger than me. So who cares if that's not my thing? It's necessary for the community, and so him coming validated that I'm doing right by this space. 100%. You know what I'm saying? And that's what meant a lot to me. Meant a whole lot to me. Outside the fact that people thought it was cool, and my dad get to meet him. My dad heavy into politics. He loved politics, so that was cool too.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate this time, man. And I know you said, could you explain the raffle one more time so the people can know and give a call to action? How can they follow you on social media?
Yeah.
Instagram accounts.
For sure, man.
Like
for sure. And before I do that, man, I gotta give y'all a shout out for rocking the merch, man. I didn't know y'all got fresh with me like that, man. I didn't know y'all got fresh with me. So you rocking Detroit so hard. That's a dope pullover. Yeah. That Windbreaker went crazy. And this brand is called Pro Standard. That's a national brand that we go heavy with here. But man, I appreciate y'all for rocking with me like that, man. That's dope. Back to the raffle. So you can call the store. Area code 313-468-9444. That's 313-468-9444. Call the store. Give them your name, number. Pay for the keychain, or you can come in person. If you come in person to our Avenue of Fashion location, 19495 Livernois, you'll get that same opportunity to enter for $75 versus $100. So it's a 25% discount by coming into the store. But you just come in the store, purchase your keychain. With the keychain comes a number of your choice, and as soon as we sell all of the keychains up, it's 313 keychains, obviously. We're gonna choose a number. It's a couple of apps online. I think Google has one. It's another one. The employees, it's a random number generator. You push the button, they choose a number. Whatever number we pick first wins the car. Second number wins a cash prize. Third number is gonna win gift certificate to the store. So, around the holiday time, man, for Christmas, man, come on, man. That's ride old school. And they not hoopty. I mean, they hoopty, but they ain't hoopty, right? They old schools, but they ride. They clean. They all original. Loud, right? Yeah, they all, classics, and they all desirable cars, The first one that we're doing is a 68 Cutlass convertible.
Ooh,
68 Cutlass convertible,
Okay.
man. You know, it's clean, it's original, and you can start up and drive it. So, yep.
Okay, and plug your social media so people can get connected.
Yes,
with
sir.
you.
313 store on Instagram. Spell out the word 3, spell out the word 13, store on Instagram. And on Facebook, it's just 313, the word 3, the word 13. So, yep, that's what we are rocking right now, Facebook and Instagram. And once again, our phone number to the store is 313-468-9444.
All right, man. We appreciate you. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Black Millionaires Podcast. We'll see you next week.